some of these controls here, so if anyone's here yet, please bear with me for a minute. Hey everyone, CharlesRichard Zerilli at your service. How are you today? Hope everyone's getting along through this crazy pandemic thing. Uh, People are well within 6 feet past my confines right now, so um, that is definitely a must. So very excited to be here, initiating the process, running for the president, human of the United States for 2020, and I am so honored to give up my civilian life and to step into this thing because one of my orientations is that this is not going to be political. How could you do this? So, running for the president of the United States, forming a new party, how could that fit? Well, there's a document, it's called the Declaration of Independence. Maybe you've heard of it. Being facetious, kind of cute. Um, but the first paragraph very clearly is a directive. And I wrote a book on this. And in the book, I break down 3 and 4 words, 5 words. And it's very interesting when you see this. So we're going to talk about that. So that's one of the things on our itinerary, the Declaration of Independence Party, the Declaration of Independence itself we'll speak of. So once again, I've introduced myself just for you, those of you who are just coming on. We're streaming live on YouTube today, Facebook. We're not doing it at this moment. Just for those Facebook people, I hope you work your way over to YouTube for the moment. So, yes, CharlesRichard Zerilli, Declaration of Independence Party. I would like to say I don't look like Brad Pitt, and I don't have his abs. Sorry, Jen. But my heart and my mind are, and I am very confident for us, and I can see angles that no one else is speaking of. I feel very affirmed. I feel very positive. Positive is a dynamite word because we really don't see much of being positive today, and we really don't have anyone guiding us in this way. I think it's kind of important to be positive. Yeah, we need some positive here because stuff is so political. How are we going to get around being political and still make this work? How can we be the strongest on the face of our globe and have the ability to circumvent someone being political? Well, we're being directed to. We're going to get to that. So I'd like to give you a warning. Uh, I would also like to, before the warning, I would like to take our grandiose existence and simplify much, making it faster, which everyone wants, and somehow define that and make sense for a better life, a better us, for a better America, for a better existence, for a better existence on our such beautiful globe. And when we look at the earth, there's so many pieces to it. So we'll be talking about design is another aspect of what we'll be going over today. We'll also be re-going over induction versus deduction. I have a more definitive scope at this point. Um, it's funny how when people are oriented to create, it's so funny because I've encountered this myself and I've seen other people do this. We kind of get so many pieces. Let's use round numbers for argument's sake, make it simple. Let's say there's 100 pieces to get something right, but I don't know that. Nobody knows that. But you're learning as you go along. This is part of what we don't know. Otherwise, we'd be able to hit the lottery if we knew everything, right? So we don't know these things. So there's 100 pieces, but we know, let's say 60, 65, 66, give or take. We don't know there's another 33, 34% missing. So as we know this amount, believe it or not, some of the pieces that we have, we get so close and we feel very confirmed. We feel well. We feel oriented. We feel positive. We feel affirmed in what we're doing. But yet, it's not complete. But guess what happens? My point is sometimes it goes upside down and you don't know that. So until you really experiment, until you really envision, and I love that I have my imagination poster because as a creator, let's take this moment first. As a creator and a designer, once again, for those of you who are just tuning in, my name is CharlesRichard Zerilli, running for our beautiful president slash human of our United States. Not to say anyone else wasn't human, they definitely are. But when we apply things like design, and this part of, where's my design here? We have it, actually it's behind the poster. When we have good ecology, I know we can see the word up at the top here, ecology, over here somewhere, yeah. So part of good ecology is part of design. And part of our human design is part of what we have, what's called RAS, RAS and IR. And what happens sometimes is we get so close to what we're looking to do, we don't have it true. And knowing the design parameters from the very beginning and then leading yourself up, and then to get to that, part of the problem with that is you kind of have to be willing to make mistakes. And I think part of any ecology, I got to get my lefts and my rights right because everything's backwards, yeah. I kind of like that in a way. I like learning new things we've never done before. So part of getting it right is making mistakes. One good example of that. So let's cruise right in for the moment. We're going to make this a short version today. By the way, today's date is August 9th, 2020, and right now it's 10 after 7 p.m. And we are in a Zoom chat. We're live on YouTube and other places, of course, around the globe are tuning in. And part of what I've done, so let's work to what I guess an extended introduction of what I've done, some of my licenses. So I have 14 licenses within 5 EPA certifications. One of the licenses is a licensed ham operator. What does that mean? It means I can make you a good ham sandwich. No. That doesn't mean that. And I'm sure the guys who already are licensed kind of get a kick out of that. To be a licensed ham operator means you can design antennas, work with components, with inductance and resistance and capacitance is, which I have not only just designed antennas, I've actually tracked people down. There was one guy on Emergency Channel 9 back in the day in the CB radio. And when I was 16, by the way, I was building antennas and I would literally get the RF radio frequency to the minimal most amount possible. I was very anal. When I do something, I sink myself into it. I allow for the upside downness because we're going to put it back the other way and try it and see what happens. Because then you have a very, very clear understanding which one was more correct. A lot of times, if I only give someone 66%, you can see very well that most all the forensics and physics are in place, all the sociology, whatever it may be for. And then you feel confident, but is it all? So my heart goes out to all those who are the top people running our show because I believe they feel confident. And I believe that beyond our political system, and those, of course, within our Federal Reserve who are not directly part of our system, my heart goes out to you because if suffering is part of what we have, and it's also mentioned in the Declaration of Independence, by the way, on 2 occasions. One, you wouldn't know unless you understand kinesthetics. And then you kind of take the kinesthetics and you wean it upwards and you kind of expose it, and then it becomes very clear at that point. So to have a clarity of what it is within, to feel so confident, and yet the confidence, it's pre-ad lib. I would say if a system could be extended, it would be the most important thing is to hear someone out, to experience going to the next step, experiment with what it is this person says, because if this person's right, let's face it, in our lives, how many of us don't suffer? Now, even if you have a relationship, how many people in medical problems? How many people have other things happening? How many people have drug problems? How many people are hurt? How many people, as we speak by design right now, let's talk about a broad design. Right now, as we speak, this very second, someone died, someone was born, someone went to the hospital, someone got hurt, someone got engaged to. Forgive me. How many people committed suicide? How many people are looking for counseling? How many people are calling someone? How many people are going on a Zoom chat? All these things are always happening, always. And this is part of design. So I believe that if within our design, and the Declaration mentions suffering, and scriptures and Bibles mention suffering, I would say it's one of our Creator's tools. Some people say that there was a group that showed us some things, that some of those things went to a certain technology. Some of those technologies then were kind of lost in time. Some of those things were kind of brought forwards. Some of those things are modeled in which the way that are so intricate sometimes you wouldn't know. I believe there is a resemblance of that style. Let's say that. Let's keep it neutral, keep it positive, keep it upbeat. All right, everyone good? CharlesRichard Zerilli here. Let me take a moment. I see my ladies next to me. Hi, ladies. Mwah, 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 mwah. I gotta hug my flag. I hope you don't mind. Mwah, mwah. Gonna kiss the flag. Let me take care of this one. I can't. This one's gonna feel like it's left out. Can't do that. All right. We got a pair right here. We gotta take care of it the right way. So I think part of our design. Oh, you know what? Let me do this too. Those of you out there, my heart, my mind are with you. Anyone feeling depressed, alone, don't have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or significant other. I don't care if you're bi, gay, transvestite, you're Republican, Democrat. I don't care if you're queer. I don't care if you live upside down. I don't care what you do. Guess what? If you can hear me, if you maybe could read or not, if you understand, you're a human being. And I care for you. I'd like to take that and say it respectfully. Because while everyone cares, who knows design? Let's add that I do care, and let's connect it with the design. Let's make it obvious. It needs to be. Because all these people running, Biden, Cuomo for a quick second he did. He thought about it. DJT. I feel I have a bunch of parts that are resemblance of them, of all of that within me. Having 14 licenses. Having some of them actually have the word master in it. So in some professional degrees, I am considered a master. I also have an additional extension, which is certificate in hypnotherapy. I am now understanding what the mental framings of who and what we do. And part of our design. So let's talk about what design is first before we bring up the IR and the RAS. So that's our mental framing as part of who we are. Some of our top quantum scientists utilize these abilities, integrate it, and then figure things out going forward. So what is design? Because that's really what we're here to talk about. So my motivation, forming the Declaration of Independence Party, creating a safe earth, making a solidarity, bringing us to a new happiness, considering that we know, we consider that suffering is part of what happens. Let's talk about the pieces. We can't just acknowledge some and leave out the other. You can't do that. We have to bring everything together, respect everyone, and bring it. Part of the design I see is all the people I just mentioned, is part of all these people, whether your designation be anything one or the other, and with all respect to anyone who is existent, especially if anyone doesn't have an insignificant other or someone's contemplating suicide, number one, please don't. Please, please, please do not. Please don't do it. I will say right now, I love you and I care. So please come back in. Also to those people who are turned off to our system. I am one of them. That's why I had realized I need to step into this. And I need to follow some of the guidelines of the design and implement this and show in a new way no one's done before. I've always been very unique. How unique through design and other things? By the way, have I ever done this before I started doing these? No, I haven't. But guess what? Very quick, I caught on, I prevailed. So this is a blueprint. Let me bring it a little closer here. Some better sound. Okay. So okay. So for the most part, so this is in reflection, this is a blueprint. And before I started knowing how to do this, which I learned very, very quickly because I've been doing design my whole life. And so the blueprint itself has a list of all pieces that need to be. And so this is what we don't see about American government. We don't see clear design. We don't see implementations of clarity. We don't see what it is to bring us to the next level. I'm just going to adjust something here for a quick second. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I'm just adjusting something here. Okay. Tone. Okay, thank you. Okay, much better. I was hearing echo. So, all right. Thank you for that pause. So, like I was saying, design is something that we really don't see in our government. And so, how would that help? Well, we see so many different things suffering today. On a scale of 1 to 10, if we were to rate it, there's a lot of things happening. And as I see it, is we are only increasing with the things that are physically suffering, even though it's not you, let's say now. So, with this being said, when do these things curb? When do these things find a settlement? When do these things have part of where they fit into design? So, unless we have a clarity of what design is, I don't believe we're doing the government 100%. I believe we're probably, way less than that, because I believe they could have a better life. They could feel that if they want to become the high of the few and how that is, because look at how many people are really ultra rich, only a few. And I would think they'd want to cycle correctly, because 460,000 years ago, there was no word death. There was the word recycle. And I believe within Lonang, which is mentioned in the Declaration of Independence, laws of nature and of nature's God, and that's my abbreviation, by the way. I also have that in my book. It shows many different things that happen
with any two things that mix. So with any two things that mix, we bring it forwards and we understand really how do those work within design. So when we see so many things suffering, how many things are we not considering that had let these things suffer? And what if the suffering of what's happening to these people is a mistake? Let's pause on that for a moment. What happens if these things and people who are suffering are a mistake? First off, I'd like to say all the people who are suffering who don't want to, let's go one more step for the people who may be committing suicide or not happy or single or independent. They'd rather be with someone. Those who might be physically challenged or mentally challenged. Right now, I want to give you all a hug. And if you're thinking of suicide, please don't. So I want to hug everyone. Everyone's going to do a group hug right now. Ready? Three, two, one. Group hug. I got you. All right. So I think giving part of love is part of the design. So I wanted to make sure that's put in there. By the way, you could visit my site, Time to Join. You could check out some of the stuff. We'll go back over that in a short while. So design is very key because it leads us to some values. And first, I'd like to give a warning because some of the things we might speak of here of design, you might not really want to hear, but I think it's important to face these things because to have clear design, we need a resolve. And to have a resolve, to have a clarity on what is suffering and what's not, and how we can fix these things, and how we won't be able to fix some things, but we have to work within it. So that's very key to know. So values, what we stand for, come through the warning because sometimes we don't want to hear these things. But what do? Just pretend they don't exist? Can't do that. So guess what? Our government, I believe, should think yes with some heart, and that's one of the things I'm doing is applying a wise, strong heart. And I think having that to be implemented is extremely important when you do design because what can we say for the moment that we have watched the rich people today do what they do best? And what have they done? We can complain against them. I mean, let's talk about some of the things for a moment. In 2016, we broke 106, 108,000 weather records. We're climbing from there. Those who don't want to face climate, guess what? I've got a resolve for that. Standard Earth maintenance. This way you don't want to face the climate. Guess what? We have a resolve for that. Part of design would also implement a repair for this and satisfy those who are protesting, those who are pro-activists, those who don't want to acknowledge the climate. It now gives us, within the Declaration of Independence Party, a way, in a unified way, we can climb and become one unified steeple as all the pieces intermingle and lock, creating a strong roof, a strong above head. So, when we hear things like um, senior citizens are having stuff taken away, or they're trying to remove the benefits to only give them a box of food. When we see all the executive orders that speak beyond what someone's words are, it shows a clarity that we can see more of a definitive direction of where that person who's running is taking things with those directives. Executive orders are very, very used to show a behavioral pattern of what we're thinking, what we're going, and how we're favoring the money. And when we favor that money, you have to, as a government, you have to. But when do we not apply any heart? So that's why I'm here, because I believe applying some wise, strong heart would match that we are the strongest nation on the globe. We are so strong, and we are. We have almost add all the armed forces up globally, and we're almost 2.5 times everyone added together. So we are not a force to be reckoned with, and we are respectful people. We're doing business. The people who are doing business, who are top most money people, what do you think they're doing? You know how people get into habits, and more than 85% of the people on a diet gain more weight more than 2 years afterwards. Why we sometimes try to do things and we can't. Why do people doing drugs? Why do we get hooked on some certain things? And then sometimes some of us learn how to do good habits and go into those things with our habitual formations and then use it as an advantage, working out and things like that, having friend bases and doing things like that. Well, the top people who've made so much money, you have to give them credit because we need these people. So a lot of people want to do this political thing and say, oh, we need an audit and then we're going to just, put everyone in jail. I'll be honest with you, that doesn't solve anything. It only makes that when you look in any phone book, although you can't get them predominantly or you don't see them today, but I still save my old ones and I like to have a book, but when we see the directives or what we equivalate that lawyers and doctors are the most highest degree of many pages, this is what represents as we example who we are as people. We're fighting each other and we're so sick. So how do we keep America number one? Because what do these people have done is made us number one. How do we discredit that? Do all of you not want to be number one? Number one. Number one goes up the easiest, right? Single number points up to the sky. Beautiful thing. Strong number one. Like that song, one is the whatever. It's the loneliest number. No, it's not actually. Not if you're number one of the people who've done and made America number one. And maybe it might be lonely, but I believe we could change that for them because making so much money then comes a habit, just like we mentioned before. And what's wrong with that? I don't think anything, except at a certain point, when does the money get stuck into that? And one of those grand orders really clarified to understand, are they the final word? Is like Jeopardy, is the final answer? Because if it's not, and suffering is part of what our creators have made part of what everything has to do on earth, and it's proven biochemically within our bodies. We are designed to suffer. So does that make the people who are the richest think that they can double down on what it is and they can get away with it and they do something wrong, and then when somebody says something, they do something more wrong? That doesn't really work, because if you evaluate all energies, when you do something wrong, you have to double up at it to make it right, because you need to move past that. You need to show what you've done needed to be clarified, and you man up to such that degree. I believe that essence is what allows the other person to feel comfortable to re-support you, because you double up at them, not double down. If you do something wrong to me and you say something, I do something more wrong to you, how do you feel? You're like, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that for? Like, I did something already, and now, I'm saying something, that you did something, and now you're coming back to me even further. Doubling down has a harm that follows it in reverse. That comes from from the backside. So doubling up doesn't. So that's the difference between doubling down and doubling up. Doubling down has harm and things you have to reaffirm. When I did something and then somebody says something, I do something more. That's doubling down. It just reaffirms the hurt. It reaffirms if I'm not thinking of it clearly, it locks it in to make sure I feel good about it. But what about doubling up? Because I believe good and bad are as much as a powerful entity, and bringing them together takes some heart to understand where they lie. I believe that you have the one at the top and the zero at the bottom. It's like a binary code, and 179 digits on either side. How many people that I see in relationships, and sociologically, psychologically, a father or a child becomes reverse of the parent, and then that child becomes reverse of that parent, more similar to the grandfather, and then so on and so on. It keeps on flipping. When do we realize that we need to evolve? CharlesRichard Zerilli, the Declaration of Independence Party, and the one obligation that, let's just briefly intercede, the Declaration of Independence Party is created to join all parties. That's what it's for. So to join all parties to create the initiation of the foundation of this steeple that brings such a strong roof to protect us as we're underneath this, we then have the ability to be much stronger. So the Declaration of Independence Party allows the Democrats and Republicans somehow, while we're in a national global pandemic, and plus our ice is melting. Most people in New York City wouldn't understand, but why is America so lucky? Because most of the states that don't have ice won't be able to tell. But in New York City, we normally would have several weeks in a row of cold, and it'll be very consistent. And then a lot of times you'd have snow or not, but that cold allows ice to freeze deeper. So I asked within that one question, within my book, and I also talk about this. Why is it 41.5 degrees if we dig 10 feet down anywhere on the face of the globe? And although there's only 30% approximately of land mass and 70% water, so on all of the land, if you dig down 10 feet, it's 41.5 degrees. Why? If we answer that, we can repair our climate. That's why I had to write a book about this. So anyway, so what we see is the values of what we represent have to do with how people feel, even that we have to appreciate the values of the 1% because they have manufacturing, they have employees, they have facilities, they have machinery, they have the directors and the establishments to have executive abilities at a high level to manifest many people to act at once. So, and so does a government. So anyone coming in, I believe when you know design, this is going to be access to have this as a tool. So what we see is the very people who have done the 1% thing have done the right thing. And it seems like that needs to be just altered a little bit because especially if the people at the top have not completed what they represent and they're not considering suffering and they think they can double down. If they don't double up, was that going to come back to them? Because if they're putting off their suffering, and the Declaration says this, it says, quote, while mankind is more disposed to suffer, evils are sufferable than to right and abolish the ways in which they're accustomed. And I might have missed a word or two, but the kinesthetics of that is on. You can't change that. I feel like it's almost verbatim actually. But just to allow for slight error there, because no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't want to be perfect. I like making mistakes. I love learning. Why do you think I have 14 licenses for? Because I appreciated those mistakes and you learn. This is what America needs. This is why our government needs to admit if we've done something, we need to advance. We need to give a solidarity to the people. We need to create in your spirit where you feel good that America's not just making business and making things number one throughout our globe that we appreciate, but that these people now are doing what laws have allowed them to, taking this glyphosate and all these different chemicals and all these other things. What do you think? They don't have lobbyists? Someone pointed out that they put people in there who are not even part of the lobbyist group, but they're brought in to be lobbyists. And from what I understand, there were some homeless people being used. Now let's make them homeless and then use them to make more things to make more homeless. That's hey, good design, right? I don't think so. But this is what they're doing for legislation. And we're able to see this because now so many different laws and rules have been allowing to make these people do what they're allowed to do. So now to orchestrate that and to give them a solidarity, what about if there's things that they can't buy with money? What about if we feel that the ability, if we suffer, like the Declaration mentions, how do you not do that? Mr. BG, Mastigator, I'm not going to say his name, but he's got a balance. He's known as a philanthropist. But however, I don't believe his balance is correct. He should know that because there's ancient science and ancient scroll technology that show us that when you suffer things and you're letting things suffer, where does that fall? So you can do so much good, but how much bad do you do and you can get away with it before the good doesn't make any difference and the bottom drops out? I think for the rich people, that's extremely important because they're very intelligent. So anyway, the values of induction, let's go over that for a quick second, of induction versus deduction, I think is important. So induction basically is when you take something and you figure things out from the ground up. Now, this is one way we could learn. And I think doing design is extremely important to feel confident because when you have a atrophy of confusion, it's now shown through quantum scientists and quantum mechanics that causes a vivification, a pop, and then which means you're confused at first. So now imagine if you see the design, you feel someone's heart, they're caring, they're showing, they're breaking everything down, they're bringing it forwards, they're putting it into a solidarity, and they're not hiding things, they're showing it and making people feel confident. I believe that's what a government's meant to do because the Declaration says so. That's right. The Declaration says that. That's why I had to write a book on this. Very simple. The last sentence. And for the support of this declaration with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And what I did tonight in my book is I reversed them. I took two words. I said the word we and I changed it to I, and I took the word our and I made it to my. So let's reread that sentence now with those words changed, because this is in my book. So what it would say now is, and for the support of this declaration with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, I pledge to each other, I mutually pledge to each other my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. Now, that's very different, right? No, it's not. It's no different than what it said. It's just that when we use the word our, it makes it seem like it's a choice. You American? Are you turned off? Do you love our flags? Do you want a new solidarity? You have to vote. You have to be, I want you to feel confident to be part of our system again. I love and I care for all of us. And I see like I'm one of those people been turned off. And that's why I clearly see that we have an ability to re-attract those very people. The approximately 175 million people bailed out. They don't vote. But guess what? If they understood design and understood someone like CharlesRichard Zerilli has a solid plan to show this plan, to show the design, to appreciate the 1%, to change the laws, to complement them, to give them the first choice. Why? What are you going to do? Fight these people? How are we going to fix the climate or anything else? They're dragging everything into court. HR 763, yeah, check mark. It's all good. Not good enough for me. I have to be honest. I have a 97.777, and I honestly am being conservative. And my hand to God, by the way, I want to be truth checked, fact checked. By truth finder, fact check, all in the same to me. I'm shooting for better than a 90% accuracy. And I'll be honest with you, it'd make me happy if I can get around the 95%, which means I'm extremely on target, being open, exciting you, allowing you to feel part of this, bringing everything in, accepting whether you're black, white, green, gray, blue, and then we all put it together and the money, and we have a solid earth, a solid people, and America stays number one that it has been for so long. 7 to 9 people are worth $2.1 to $2.4 trillion daily. Daily. That's 52 to 58% of the world's net worth. So where are the values that we see these by design, but yet we have so many different things happening, 22 suicides a day, record profit corporation highs, and yet we're squeaking against people while school teachers don't even have what they need for their classes. There's an imbalance in our design. So CharlesRichard Zerilli, the Declaration of Independence Party, I'll give you my website at this point. So time to join. I'd like to spell it for you. TIMETOJOIN.us, not .com. We are for us .us. So I did that on purpose. So time to join.us. I'll give it to you again. TIMETOJOIN.us. Time to join.us. And for those out there, we're going to be switching our room number. I'd like to have kept it consistent, but we're shopping around right now because we're seeing the needs and other things, and we're extending ourselves in other ways. So we have more requirements. So just look out for the time to join.us site, and that'll tell you where to go. So reflectively, the values of our induction and deduction to the rich and all this money that we have, we need to deductively say we are the richest. Now what? Deductively, like Sherlock Holmes, he comes in and says, there's been a murder. And then from there, you put all the pieces and then you put it all together and boom, you come up with that answer and boom, oh, this is who did it. Well, this is what I feel like. I feel like a murder mystery is perfect to compare to the echelon of the intelligence and money who have so much political barriers that we can hide behind, but yet is it the right thing they really want? If suffering is wrong and it's not meant to be, where are the values? So on an inductive way, that's why I wrote this in the book, because when you hear, and for the support of this declaration with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor, or I pledge to each other my life, my fortune, my sacred honor. It's the same thing. It's no different. It's a directive. And the Declaration of Independence Party is a directive. It goes from birth to death, whether it's a person, business, or a government. And it's not, when someone said this to me, I was so offended, but I didn't say it. I just wanted to hear more what they had to say, because when someone says something, please bring it. I want to hear it. I want to experience it. Is it correct? Is it not? He had said that the Declaration was like this makeup document. What? Whoa. The Declaration aligned our 13 states. It made the initiation of our foundation. It made America. It formed America. It formed our beautiful America. Oh my gosh, let me hold these ladies again. It formed this beautiful thing. And then from there, we had about 1 billion people, and now we have 7.9 billion. And I like to add the extra 100 million. Why? I do design. I always like to overcalculate because it puts things boop, always on target. So having a 97.77% accuracy rating, I want to be truth checked and all these things. So in the induction and deduction, I believe there are some pieces that if you follow me further, and I have a couple of surprises, get me to national exposure. And I will also show us how we can get rid of the pandemic in 90 days. I'm very serious. When I got 2 people to stop insulin, I can't tell you how, but both of them were born diabetics and they became a type 2. One grew out of being a diabetic completely. One of my neighbors by one of my rentals. That's a fact. Need I say my hand to God when I say that? And I'm putting my hand over my heart? It's the truth. So I've learned things of biochemistry. Why? Because epigenetics, EPHA genetics, means that we are this beautiful. But what do we do? Let's do this for a second now. What do we do? Release all the natural things? Can we do this? Yeah, we can. I hear all these natural people. They're all gung ho, and God bless them. A lot of them are my heroes. I got to be honest. A lot of them are my heroes. But let's do the math for a second. If we release everything natural, number one, the people at the top are going to want to fight that because they're making so much money off of people being sick. We are the most sickest drug persons per capita in the face of the globe. That's a fact. But we also make $3 to $4.3 trillion from the medical industry. That's also a fact. Very close numbers, not exactly, but allow some tolerance. Darn close, good enough. What do we do? Release everything and just destroy that economy, destroy we're number one? How do we transcend design? Once again, let's take all the pieces of the plan. This is a blueprint. By the way, when I designed this, I completely designed that blueprint from scratch, met all the criterias. Of course, made a couple mistakes in the very beginning, but guess what? I got it signed off by architects. That's not one of my licenses, but I want to say they wanted to call one of my master licenses sanitary engineer because we do engineering, and I am a designer and I do engineering. I don't have a license for it. I'll be honest with you, I don't need to, but the things I've engineered structurally, I also do heliarching and several different things, as well as in business for 40 years. Owned real estate by the time I was 30. I have people for 17, 18, 19, 20 years. I tell them that their rentals is their home. I make them feel welcome. I want you to feel welcome. And so when we talk about design, I believe by talking about this, we're clearing up some fog, which was one of the topics on the last Zoom we did from last Wednesday. And by the way, we're going to be doing this 4 times a month, the first and third week, first the Wednesday, and then the Sunday. And then the next, of course, 2 weeks later, the Wednesday, and then the Sunday. Always the Wednesday first and the Sunday second. Wednesday first, Sunday second. Wednesday, Sunday. So the first week and third week. So 1, 2, 3. I don't want to use wrong fingers. Forgive me for that. So first and the third. Let's do it as a total. I don't want to misrepresent anything right there. That was no indication. Forgive me. You gotta laugh in a way because sometimes things come out naturally and you don't want to represent like that. So any event, CharlesRichard Zerilli, the Declaration of Independence Party here, joining all parties, not giving any reason or excuse to the Democrats or the Republicans to keep on fighting each other when we have a global pandemic. Like I said, I have a couple of surprises. One, I'm not even going to indicate. Get me to national. You all rock your socks. You will appreciate this. You thought DJT was doing things to make things change? I believe I'm going to Zerilli that because 95% accuracy rate, bringing things forwards, talking about design, showing some care and kindness and tenderness, talking about induction, talking about deduction, ways we can learn. And how does it affect and what does it affect and what are we all susceptible to? me bring this a little closer. IR and RAS. Forgive me, I hit my finger there. There was a door that caught me right away. Someone else closed it. It's all good. Um, but internal representation are human mental framing aspects, one myopic select view of our individual lives' interpretations. This is what you feel for this moment, and then this is what you feel in all of the details relative to that. Utilizing a thing known by psychological mental practices, a process also called deletion within. And deletion, what is that? It means we can't pay attention to everything. Imagine if we were to measure everything around me right now and know it and know every detail. There's millions of things around me. So a lot of them are blocking out your most important thing. And I care for all of us. This is right now my focus. So that's easy to block everything out because this is what the most important thing and the design. And I want to say the millions of decisions. When I've renovated a 32, 31 room home by myself, and after 4 months, my friends bailed out. Guess what? I didn't give up. I was also hit by a car. I put that in my book. Did I give up? No. Fractured skull, broken leg, broken femur, blood on my brain, upper teeth, lower back teeth, upper back, lower back. I was down for the count. 3 more pounds per square inch, I would have cycled. And I believe we need to use the declaration to make sure that when people cycle, that there's a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, which I left at for now. Divine providence is when we escalate, it mentions our death. Yes, it does, but we cycle. So it also knows, and I can't go into that now, but look forward to that coming up because we extend past that. But so the IR is also a domestic blindness. It's uncountable and it's informal. The inability to fix something that is plainly visible, sometimes it also allows us to delete those things. So sometimes our sensibility gets turned off because it gets too much information and we just have to boop, stop. This is what I'm for. For those of you who are turned off, I will do the thinking. I will show you by design. And when I had my plans approved by a licensed architect, my design, everything, every letter, every wording, every statement complied to what it is, a complete design. There are thousands of things when you do a plan. Safety is number one. So once again, my surprises, Declaration of Independence party that will represent, get me to national television, and I will give you things you'll be so happy, not only just to be American, it'll give you new hope to strive, to move forwards, and to make this steeple stronger than it's ever been, utilizing all the pieces by design, utilizing the people who have so much large businesses and companies and corporations, and giving them first up natural advantages. It has to be this way. Nothing I could say needs to be hidden because anyone coming in is going to have advantages compared to someone who comes in. It's already established. It's common sense. So I want to allow these people. We don't need gasoline any longer. One of my licenses is I would like to release free energy. I can't talk about that in detail because it's nationally security protected right now, and it has to be. I'm also probably one of the least people to be debriefed becoming the president of our beautiful United States. United States. United we stand, right? So some of us may not be hurting yet, but what do? Have a political thing and play this tribalism thing and go back and forth and we create all this drama and stop all that, please. It's about time we become together and join to the Declaration of Independence Party, making a party to join all parties for right now. We can always fight in a couple of years after this if those people who want to be so political. I refuse to be called political. My name is CharlesRichard Zerilli, by the way. Z as in zebra, Erilli. So RAS now is reticular activating system, a bundle of nerves each person's brain system uses to filter out unnecessary data so the critical data gets through. Control sleeping, walking, and attention. The sophisticated filter creates blind spots to the junk. What happens when we mistake real things for junk? What happens for those who don't want to face climate change? That's why I had to write a book about this because our ice is melting. Why is it 41.5 degrees? We can't let that temperature raise. I don't want to scare people right now, but that's very important. Guess what? I could alleviate those who don't want to pay attention to that. Standardized minimum earth maintenance. That's the answer. Because if we have standardized maintenance, people who don't have to worry about it, but we all need to be part to care for our earth. We've never been asked that before. My name is CharlesRichard Zerilli, and I'm asking you right now, all of you, please be part of what the Declaration of Independence Party stands for, to care for our earth, to care for our people, to care for the design in which we can see come back and let it roll, and then feel solid, and then feel very good about it. When we see complete design, it's like someone buying a house and you're having it built for yourself. And the architect says, okay, here's your plan. What would you like to change on it? Oh, and then you look at it. Well, I see the size of the bedroom. Boom, everything's in detail. We don't have that for America. I think that supersedes being audited. Being the richest nation in the whole entire globe, we could get past this. So, without going too much into the detail of this, um, what does it mean to say, as I ask, because America is the strongest physically on the face of the globe. So these things are being relative, and being that some of my titles have the name master, I would like to ask these questions, because what is being a master? I don't have a big head. I have a respect for people. I would rather you have something before I have it. I'd like to make sure I hold doors for women. I have respect for people, period. I wipe my feet in tens of thousands of public service jobs that I've done and meeting people. And if I'm going into someone's home, I wipe my feet 8, 9, 10 times. They look at me like, you're going to wear the rug out. I'm like, yeah, but I just, I want to make sure that I'm clean before I walk in to your home respecting you. And they're like, oh, thank you. They're not really used to that. By mistake, I wipe my feet leaving because I love us. I love us. I love public service, and anyone who wins this, you can't just think of the rich, and executive orders show that that's what it's favoring. Undoubtedly, when you see the executive orders, it's a different story than just hearing anyone on a 2 minute and 1 minute or even an hour program, or some of these things that are interjected into us. It doesn't show us the right RAS. It doesn't show us the right configuration, and then we're not really seeing clearly what we could do. 7:53 p.m. I'm going to end this in a couple minutes here. So I'm going to ask this question. Um, so things that turning back to each other, we need to turn back to each other. So there's a saying, and it says, we go to the master for resolution. Resolution redefines the master. What does that mean? Let me say it again. So we go to the master for resolution. Resolution redefines the master. And I want you to think about that until next time. I'm not going to answer that now. So what does this mean? How does it apply? How does it apply today in reflected design? I think that's extremely important to understand. So basically, I think it's important because look back at what the school kids did in 3 days. Staged an immediate walkout. That's right. This is children. Are they going to show us up as adults? You want to be showed up by a kid? How you feel about that? I don't think so. So let's do this. Let's move this forward. Let's plow into it. Let's double up a new term. Let's feel great, because what they did is in 3 days or 4 or 5 days, they made a global walkout. That's why me running now is very reasonable. People think, oh, there's no way you could do it. I disagree. Everyone's on Skype. Everyone's on Zoom. Everyone has a respect of all these things. So I believe these are wholeheartedly 1, 2, 3 in sync. These are perfect. If the kids did it and they have cell phones, all world brains, quote unquote, I like to call them that. But if everyone has a world brain, boom, consider it done. And even though I might not look like Brad Pitt and I might not have his abs, sorry, Jen, but my heart and my mind are, and I do design. My name is CharlesRichard Zerilli, running for the president, human 2020 of our United States. So let me continue. So the kids in 3 days, 5 days, whatever it was, created a global walkout, and they did it. Now it's time for adults. 2020 is the key now. I would like to reattract those who are turned off to bring you back in, to let you feel cared for. All these electronics, I would like to utilize how we do all these electronical things and Skypes and all this to feedback to the government. I would like to make this national across America, is that I would want to, let's say, have a certain time and then a broadcast, just like what's done really, only this guy at the top now is using all these tweets and all the rest of this. Almost everything I see is something of damage or more suffering that I'm hearing him say. Please stop that. DJT, stop, man. track what you're doing and stand back at what you're doing. You want to cycle right, my brother, or you want to cycle wrong? I don't believe laws of nature, Lonang, laws of nature, nature's God is going to let you be comfortable, even though you're so used to now thinking that you can get away with, rewriting things and not being honest about some things and leading people and then flipping, go the other way. I mean, that's not really cool. I just say, where's your honor? And I believe honor is what they say. One of the things that said, I believe this: harden not your heart. That's why implying within the Declaration of Independence Party that we're implementing a wise, strong heart, so we can take the design and move it forwards and create a new respect and a new solidarity, moving it forwards. Yes, evolving within respect, which we can with the most strongest in the globe. Why can't we? We're just not facing the things that we hear as bad news. We're so politically sensitive today. Stop that. We need to be a little bit more tolerant, a little bit more unified to respect each other, expect mistakes from other people, and be patient. Please. Very important. So also, the opposite of being patient is to act. And now is the time. My name is CharlesRichard Zerilli, running for the president of our beautiful, wonderful, wonderful United States, that we need to attract these people back in. Um, these are the things that I see voting is extremely important. And whether you see me on the ballot or not, there's a box that's called write in. I'm not stopping. And although I'm sticking my neck out to do some field work to see how things are going and to make sure how many people are being attracted, while I'm being excessive in one, I'm being conservative in the other to make sure I'm doing how I have to do it. I love us. I care for us. I see the design. I see the complete design. And the Declaration of Independence Party is looking to join all parties, not giving anyone else a reason to not, because we have to put our arms down. We need to fix this pandemic. We need to reaffirm what it is. Think about this. When we do decide we're going to repair our climate and HR 763 is not enough, what do we do next? I have a list of things. I'm not saying them now. Show me you care. You care? I want to know it. Send me an email. Call me. You want to call me? 718-865-8720. I'll give it to you again. 718-865-8720. I'll give it to you again. 718-865-8720. And also time to join. TIMETOJOIN. So I think we've covered the base on such the way that Earth has many pieces, and America, although we're 5% of the land masses, that's only one nickel out of a dollar. Nickel is only one nickel out of 20, but we use 30% of the world's resources. We use so much plastic. We create the initiation to waste. No one is reorchestrating design to include all of this, all of it. I'm excited to do this. My name is CharlesRichard Zerilli, at your service, running for the President Human 2020 of our United States. And don't let our children have outdone us with their walkout. It's time to get on your devices. You like anything that I have to say, share me, please. Share me with 3 people, and I look forward. My name is CharlesRichard Zerilli, and I'm so excited to be here, so excited to take us to the next step. And I see myself in the White House reorchestrating, rekindling a respect, a kindness, a new humanity, implementing the Declaration to match our Constitution. And that's my main goal, reframing our Constitution to now match 7.9 billion people and only growing, when only it was about approximately a billion 240 years ago, whatever, 240 something years ago, when the Declaration formed America. So when it did what it did then, and our framers couldn't follow it, that's why I had to write a book, because the words they had, they almost couldn't do a good number of what it implied. They decided to do their own thing. But now we can see it. So now we want to have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and safety and happiness. And there are a couple of things I left hanging, and I'd like for you to come back. So please give me this chance. It's right now about 8 p.m., 8/9/2020, and I'll be signing off at this time. So thank you very much for coming. Be safe. Um, please take care of people around you the best you can. Be patient and share some love with someone if you can. And be tolerant and patient with someone you might not have been, and watch how they know it, but they can't say it right away. But when they do, you'll feel good that you were that patient. And this is what America and our government needs to give back to our people, creating a solidarity, creating a new unison, and a new steeple strength by reframing our Constitution to match the Declaration. Thank you for listening. My name is Charles Richard Zerilli, at your service. Be strong, be positive, and be confident, and see it done already, because I do. Thank you. Be safe.